How long have you been over here now, Krista?
I have been here since October of last year.
Wow, coming up on the year anniversary.
I am. I am. I'm
I
excited.
I feel like in a good way, I feel like I've known you a really long time.
Yeah,
Like
I
like you're a
agree.
long time, friend, So
Well,
but if you'd
it
asked me, I would have said like what, 3 years, something like that.
right.
Really?
It seems like one of those things that when you're having fun, time just flies by. And
Hmm.
it's just been such an amazing journey and with lots of growth and opportunity to help and make an impact on others. So
Yeah.
um, I love it here.
Yeah, I can tell. Most people are listening to this on the podcast. Some are watching this on the YouTube page, and you can just see it in your face. I don't know, it's just kind of brightening up. When you say, I love this, you can see in somebody's eyes if they're saying, if they do, or if they're, well, I'm supposed to say, I love this, kind
Yeah.
of thing. So, yeah.
Well,
So,
so I know you love to kind of dive into others and learn about them. And I thought this would be a really good opportunity to kind of talk about you because a lot of people know you and what you're doing over here at the Marketing Animals, but really kind of talk about a little bit about your journey and what got you into the mortgage industry and what inspired you to choose this path.
wow. I'm going to have to say, at the risk of appearing shallow, I'd love to tell you that I grew up wanting to get in the mortgage business, that I saw my parents struggling to buy a house and somebody came and helped us do it and we got home ownership. And ever since then, I wanted to be a loan officer. It's not exactly how it happened though. It was really, for me, it was, I say a chance encounter. And I know there's no such thing in my belief system. There's no such thing as chance encounters, that it's all by design. I believe that, or grace in my case, grace, a lot of grace. Um, yeah, I was working in the hospital system and I was making pretty good money. So this is like what, 1999. So coming up, what, 24, coming up on 25 years now. And at the time I was probably making, I don't know, 150,000 in 1999 is probably equivalent to 250 now, maybe,
Right.
something like that. So not bad, right?
No.
Yeah, pretty good living. And it was an honorable work. I just didn't like it. I'm sitting, in my case, I'm sitting behind a ventilator for 8 hours a day in surgery, and watching a ventilator go up and down. And I'm very thankful for the opportunity to have done that. And it was, it's again very honorable work. But I'm a bit of a people person. I'm an introvert, but I love the one-on-ones, or even the eight-on-ones, like sitting around a campfire kind of thing. And but I'm definitely a people person, and I like having conversation, like talking to people. And and so, but I was at a job where out of necessity, I'm quiet for 8 hours a day, while the surgeon thinks I'm behind the ventilator. And I just didn't like it. And I'm driving home from work one day, and thinking, gosh, it's a great work. I'm blessed. I just It just doesn't fit my personality.
Right.
And I'm going on down 19, and I passed a sign where I saw a dear friend of mine. At the time, he was just a faint acquaintance, right? I just knew of him more than anything. Actually, he went to my church, and
Okay.
every time I'd see him in the parking lot, never really spent any time with him, but every time I'd see him in the parking lot, he's walking and whistling. And as I'm driving home, I see his name on the side of the building and went, that Ralph guy, like, he's always happy. He's whistling, and I don't feel happy right now.
Right.
And so I literally turned around, did a U-turn, pulled into his parking lot, and went inside his building. Had no idea what he did. And he walked in the building. He said, "Carl." I said, "Hey, Ralph." And he said, "Hey, man, how you doing?" I said, Not." I was just real vulnerable then. I didn't know him well enough to even have this conversation, but I was, I wasn't in a good place. And he said, "How you doing, man?" I said, "Not real good, Ralph." He said, "What's going on?" And I told him a little bit. I said, I'm just not enjoying my work life, awesome people I was working with, so nothing
Right.
wrong with anybody but me, right?
Right.
It wasn't their fault. It was my fault. And I said, Ralph, what do you do? He said, I'm a mortgage broker. So what's that? He said, people buy houses and they need money. I loan them the money to buy a house. Oh, so like you have a bunch of money like that you loan out? I thought maybe he was rich and I
Yeah.
didn't know how it worked, right? So like you got some family money or something and you loan it out. Oh, no, no, no. I find banks that have money and then I find people that want money and I put the two together. I thought, well, that sounds like the easiest job in the world, right? Because
Yeah.
people want money, you got money. How hard is that? Why don't they just go straight to the bank? And he goes, well,
Right.
the banks just aren't good at marketing, and I am. Well, gosh, I thought that's like selling water in the desert. I mean, how hard could that? They're going to borrow money. It's not because I thought like the thought flashed through my head. It's not like insurance where you got to talk them into it. They're
Right.
borrowing money. They're buying gas. You just need to get at my gas station, right? And I thought, well,
Right.
that sounds so easy. And so I said, and I didn't know him well enough to ask this, but I did. I said, so how much do you make doing this? And he said, 25, 30. Oh, yeah. Hey, that's good, but my I I couldn't afford to, that I'm used to making more than that. He said, well, that might be true, but let's make sure we understand each other. I make 25, 30,000 a month. And I just froze. I didn't know
Right.
anybody that made 25, $30,000 at the time. That was an unfathomable amount of money. The anesthesiologist at the hospital that I worked at didn't make that much money at the time, right? They do now, but at the time they did. You make 25, $30,000 a month, and it was almost like what's that? The Wolf of Wall Street. I don't know if you remember that scene
Yes.
where I think what's his name, Jonah Hill. Is
Okay.
that
So
it?
I'm not good at names. This
Anyway?
not like,
So
but yes,
yeah,
I
in the
I
Wolf
do
of
think
Wall
you're
Street,
right.
you show me a pay stub for $30,000, and I quit my job. I come work for you tomorrow, right? I had that kind of a statement with him, like I really did. I said, dude, you make 25, $30,000 a month? He goes, yeah. I said, Ralph, I'd like to buy you for 3 days. He says, what do you mean? I'd like to pay you for 3 days, and I'll pay whatever you think is fair to sit in that chair that's over there in the corner of your room and just watch you for 2 or 3 days. He said, dude, you don't have to write me a check. When do you want to do it? Tomorrow. Uh, sure. So I called the hospital, told him I was going to take a couple days off. And next morning, I show up at his office at the time that he told me. I sat in that chair for about 2 hours and watched him work the phones. And I called the hospital, put in my notice, went and worked for another 2 weeks. And that's how I got in the mortgage industry. So I'd love to tell you it was inspirational and for the good of the world or something like that. But just being perfectly bluntly honest, originally it was a shallow motive. Well, it wasn't so shallow because I wasn't happy.
No.
It wasn't just about
Yeah.
the money. I wasn't fulfilled. And because one thing that I didn't know at the time, but how it fits so well was I always wanted to be a school teacher. Like growing up, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
The only problem was in my early life, come to find out you have to have a college degree for that. And
Yes.
so that didn't start off in early in my life because I didn't go to college in the beginning. Didn't know to go on. Honestly, as crazy as that might sound, in the culture that I grew up in, that's just not what you did. Like when you finished high school, you either went and started laying block to build houses, or you worked at the pig farm, or you worked at the orange groves,
Or
uh,
the egg factory.
or the in my case, working at the egg factory, literally watching eggs. That's what you did. That's all everybody did.
Right.
The high achievers just were the supervisors of the pig farmers, the egg washers, the building. So I just didn't know. But I always wanted to be a school teacher. And then I had an event happen where I learned how important school was, and I started going to school, college, a little later on in life. And, it's these little small things, it's these little small happenings in life that changes everything. And I think we just have to be open for those opportunities. But anyway, I wanted to be a school teacher, and then I found out what they got paid, and I thought I can't do that, because I want to have a wife and a family, and I saw the difference of poor and even middle class, and so I grew up very poor. We were rich in love.
Right.
We were rich in family experiences, but we were definitely poor, not even lower middle class, like we were poor growing up. And so again, I was exposed at one point in my life of education and what people that weren't poor. And I saw that and I went, wow, that I was probably 23, 24 when I saw what not poor looked like. And I thought, man, I want to do that. I want to not be poor. And so then I started college. My original thought was maybe I'll become a teacher. And then I found out what teachers made, and I thought, well, I don't want to do that. So I pursued other things. In my case, working in the hospital as a nurse anesthetist. I don't know if you know what that is, but that's somebody that does anesthesia for
Right.
right for surgery. So I went into that. But yeah, I forgot your original question. I've been on like a 15-minute
No,
monologue here.
no, I think that's great. Well, it kind of goes to show that you, while you had great success in that field, it didn't fill you. So while you were out there and you said, I don't want to be poor, I want something different for my family. You found that, but it still didn't give you
You know
the
what really scratched,
joy.
but you know what you really started scratching my itch was that when I got in the mortgage business, that we are teachers, like loan
Yeah,
officers. I always thought they were number crunchers, and while that's true, that's not where the money is. Like where the money is in teaching your clients, the best way to do it. And this isn't like teaching them something small. This is teaching them something like for most people, we all know this, the biggest investment they'll make. And you're
absolutely.
showing them you're teaching them how to do it and I'm going to use air quotes here, the right way, or show them the different opportunities. And then I can teach real estate agents or different referral partners different ways to refer to me, ways to help them grow their business. And so I got wonderful fulfillment out of that. And then I became a branch manager and I started teaching loan officers how to do very well because boy, it was just a good match for me. So, like when I first started, I think it was around, if this is just off the top of my head, I think it was around 6 or 7 months when I had my first closing of ten closings for the month. And nobody ever told me that was unusual, because Ralph was doing like, I don't know, 20, 30 closings a month. So I thought, well, that's normal, right? Because that's the
Right.
only person I knew one person doing it, him, and he's closing 25, 30 loans a month and maybe some months more. And I went, okay, so that's normal. So that's what I expected. So frankly, at 6, 7 months when I hit 10, I thought, well, I'm half of Ralph, I'm half good enough. Come to find out, that was unusual to be doing so well, but it's just such a great match for me. And so when I had loan officers starting to come work with me, I loved showing them, frankly, a lot of stuff that Ralph showed me on how to market yourself and how to close a bunch of loans, and I got great fulfillment out of that. So it really scratched that itch on the teaching thing. And
Right.
then somewhere around uh, 3 years into it, something like that. So I met Diane about a year into the business. So Diane Ranger,
Yes.
who's my partner over here at the Marketing Animals. So I met her about year. Like I didn't meet her the first year. I think I met her in the second year, and so we were a fantastic team. Always have been, right, to this day. And we were closing somewhere around, and again, this is off the top of my head, we were averaging probably a slow month would be 40 loans. My best month was 72 of
Wow.
personal production, and probably averaged 50, somewhere in that neighborhood. her and I, and we had another processor that was helping us. And and um, and she said, Carl, we ought to teach not just the loan officers that's now coming into our branch. Maybe this would be something that we could teach, other loan officers. And so her and I together founded the Mortgage Marketing Animals, and then we started teaching loan officers, and that really scratched the itch. So while today I'm still a branch manager, and
Right.
my collective team, we close literally hundreds of loans a month, any given month. I don't want to spit across a number that I get. Well, I'll just use my little asterisk. This is off the top of my head. I think last month, I think we were somewhere around 320 something. Again, that's just off the top of my head, last month. So we do hundreds and hundreds of loans. And I enjoy that part. I enjoy it a lot. But my real thrill is back into the education that I just love teaching people. You and I were just in Houston. We had a group of, I think, 15 or so loan
Yes.
officers. We spent a couple of days with them, going into it. And you see the techniques that you and I teach and help them with. That here we had one of them, like in a period of, like, I don't know, 3 months or something like that. What did he say? Had met with over 40 real estate agents, and these were
Yes.
qualified, like bit top producing real estate agents. He'd already had one-on-one meetings with like 40 of them, and he's in a kind of a small-ish area that I would
Yes.
call it. And just seeing the results of that, or who, one of my favorite stories that I heard here recently is Yawanda. So here, Yawanda,
Yes. Been in
uh,
it a year? A
yeah, she
little.
hadn't even been in it in a year.
Yeah.
And girlfriend, I think she's closing. I think this month was like, or last month, I think it was like 13 loans or something, 14 loans, something like
Yeah.
that. That she,
It beautiful, but she's really poured into the teaching. And so that takes me back to, something that you said. You said two things that were really powerful, but one that you had asked Ralph, let me teach you, because we all need a coach or a leader, no matter where we're at. And he did that for you, and now you go on and do that to hundreds.
well, what's really cool.
And
So,
it's
what's really
powerful.
cool about that? I tell you what's really cool about that is, so you think about the people that like light your torch, you know, or light, I call it lighting my candle. They light my candle, which took not, so if they've got a candle and they light my candle, they still have they don't have any less light. They don't have any less candle when they help light my candle. But now, because of them, now there's two candles burning,
Right.
right? And then I get my candle, and we've lit literally tens of thousands of loan officers, and then through them, countless real estate agents. And somebody lit, which a guy named Dave Hoyt lit Ralph's candle, and then Ralph lit my candle, and then we've done tens of thousands of loan officers. And honestly, at this point, it literally might be hundreds of thousands, but it's tens of thousands for sure. And all from Dave Hoyt, all this one guy. But here's the cool part about that. Now, he lit other people's candles other than Ralph, and Ralph lit other candles other than mine, but just my downlink is tens of thousands.
Right.
So here, Dave Hoyt is now responsible for tens of thousands, and it took no extra energy, no extra effort, and all this goodness. I mean, it sounds kind of corny, I guess, but this is what
No.
I
Yeah.
love. This part is like 20 years from now, all these candles that you and I have lit, that 20 years from now, I mean, through the ripple effect, or some people call it the butterfly effect, the countless lives, that's impacted through this, and the countless moms and dads who've learned to, double and triple and quadruple their income,
Right.
and while spending time with their kids, their family at home. And then those kids learn that message of providing very well for my family and spending time in the weekends and evening with my family, that now those kids are going to raise their kids that way. And
Right.
after I'm long gone, the effects of it still continues. And I don't know. It's just, it,
It's powerful because we do often hear, I mean, I do in this industry of there's no such thing as a work-life balance. And we just know that not to be true based on, what we teach and encourage here over at the Marketing Animals. I mean, our leaders are working less and trickling that down to our loan officers.
yeah.
And we just have great tools. And I'm not just saying that. I am 100% passionate about what we do at the Marketing Animals and the resources that we provide. It's beautiful because I remember back in the day when I got into the industry, I was working 15 hours a day. And I wanted the dream of making money for my daughters and making sure, because I was a single mother, that they didn't go without. And um, I learned quickly that you can actually have both. You can
Mm,
actually work 8 hours and still
mm,
make a good income.
mm,
And someone like Sarah Cox, I just got the pleasure of, spending some really good quality time with her. And she was telling me in her business, she's doing fantastic. She follows the DSP. She doesn't stop prospecting. And one of the things that she said to me over our time together was, Krista, do you know on average I work 6 to 8 hours a day?
mm.
And she couldn't have that before, and she's gotten, while we still have challenges and there may be points where it's like, this is hard. You got to remember your why. And for you, Ralph gave you that opportunity. And then your why is you love teaching people. I mean, because you pour into a lot of people, Carl. And I don't know if you know the true impact that you make, or if you'll ever really know. You're an amazing husband and dad and leader. And we're all blessed and honored to know you, but to work alongside you and hear your stories, I was hoping today just to really kind of learn more about your personal journey. And I want to continue to learn about that because people need to know, like, how is Carl who Carl is today? Because there's a lot that went into that. You didn't just start a company.
Well, and I mean, I'm just being perfectly honest. I think I was fired from almost every job. I guess that'll be a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
But
we need to cover that one day.
I was fired from almost every job I've ever had, and I have found, yeah, and it's kind of a cliche with entrepreneurs. It's like, well, I found I couldn't work for anybody else, and that's not just a cutesy little thing. There's a lot of truth to that, and I'm not putting myself on the same stage any or remotely close to it to like Mark Cuban, but I heard Mark Cuban say that the other day. That he
Oh
got
yeah.
fired from everything growing up, and again, I'm no Mark Cuban. I'm not pretending to, but I can relate to part of that journey. I was washing eggs for a living, and I got fired from that. That's really hard to do, right? You have to work at that. But I did.
You'll have to tell that story we'll have to
Oh,
cover that sometime because you covered that, and that was powerful story. So we'll have to circle back and
yeah.
have some more of these conversations because any time with you is a blessing. You definitely inspire me, and you push me. You do in a good way of like, I'm like, how does he think I can do those things? Because you see value
You know what it
and
is, Chris? You know what it is, Krista? It's surrounding yourself with the right people that believe in you, or I'll reflect, I can't speak of you, that believe in me before I believe in myself.
yes,
And that is remarkable. And that's where grace, in my belief system, that's where grace comes in. That the lovely Mrs. White, when I decided to pivot and change into this, man, she was behind me 100, not 110, but like 180%. And Ralph taking the time to introduce me to all this stuff, and I remember him saying that he wasn't surprised, at 6 months when I was closing 10 loans. He said, well, of course you are. And yeah, and it's just surrounding yourself with people that believe in you before we believe in ourselves, I think is a pivotal thing. That when I get tired, having I'm going to call it a corner in boxing. You call it a corner man or a corner person,
Right.
where somebody's in your corner saying, "Hey, you're doing good," and they're icing you down and giving you water and giving you words of encouragement and telling you, "Hey, when he throws his left, make sure that you duck, and that you don't get smacked on the side of the head, and when you come in a little beat up, they fix your cuts and bruises and put little
Right.
tape on it or whatever."
Little
And
Neosporin or whatever that, yeah.
yeah, and having a good corner person that believes in you and gives you words of encouragement. And frankly, the people that don't, get them the hell out of your corner.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I think that's one of the big revelations I've had this year is getting toxic people. Get them out of your corner. Like just get rid of them. You don't wish them ill will.
No.
You don't throw rocks. You don't get on social media. This was, whatever, you don't say anything uncool or anything. You just go where there's clean air, at least for
Right.
you. And maybe for somebody else, that's sweet roses, but for, getting yourself out of toxic relationships, or toxic neighborhoods. Maybe it's not any one person. Maybe it's like we just met this guy at your at the event that we had in Houston. The guy was in a town. He just had some bad vibes on the town, and
Right.
he says, and I'm not going to mention the town here, but a little small town that I'm familiar with. I think it's an awesome place, but for him, it wasn't. And
Right.
so he literally moved 1,000 miles away and he loves where he's at now.
He
And he
does.
just said, I just had to get some clean air. And so, yeah, really cool
Yeah.
stuff.
That
Hey,
was
well,
kind of
Krista,
me coming to Florida. I needed some
yeah,
clean air and now I've got I'm surrounded by what I like to say is awesomeness. Let me
yeah.
ask you something before we wrap up here. If somebody wanted to know more about what we do, what would you recommend?
I mean, I'd recommend the Breakfast Club, which you're part of. You're one of the leaders in the Breakfast Club. So loanofficerbreakfastclub.com. It doesn't cost anything. We hang out every morning. This morning, we had a fantastic presentation done by one of our friends
Yes.
and was showing just a no-brainer way to bring in more loans through your past database that anybody would say no to that is brain dead.
Right.
Just really simple stuff. And he gave it to us for free. Like it's really cool. So loanofficerbreakfastclub.com. And yeah, we'd love to have you join. We have hundreds of loan officers, hundreds and hundreds on there every day, Monday through Friday now. And
I love our Fridays too, because it's the
yeah.
tech
And I
time.
and I love that you're a part of it, which by the way, if it wasn't for Dave Hoyt and then Ralph Watkins, I'd have never met you, my friend.
I
And
know.
so I'm so grateful for Dave and Ralph that I had the opportunity to hang out with you. So it's really cool. So
Me
hey,
too.
thanks for hanging out with me and thanks for being here today.
Of
And
course.
for our listeners, thanks for listening in. This might not be one of your typical episodes, but here it is.
Love it. Well, I appreciate your time, Carl, and all you do for us. We really appreciate you.
All right. Thanks again, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thank you.